So in this video, we'll be taking a look at some recommendations for the best PC build for the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, the Creative Cloud consists of dozens of software apps, including software like Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, Media Encoder. We also have the graphics packages, Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, and something new this year, we've got Firefly, Adobe Firefly. The first time there's a dedicated creative artificial intelligence inside of Photoshop and inside of Illustrator. We're talking a little bit more about this and the kind of power that you need to create these amazing sorts of designs inside of this graphics software. And also, I also have a course for the Adobe Illustrator Firefly Generative AI Vector Graphics that fully covers the functioning of the Firefly vector model. If you want to learn this, I'll have a link to this with a significant discount in the description. We're going to start off with the graphics processor, which is probably the most important thing, especially for AI, which does either run on the graphics card or which uses a cloud connection. You need an internet connection to the cloud where Adobe will do the mathematics for the AI on their cloud servers. But otherwise, it's mainly happening on your GPU. And of course, the GPU is king when it comes to video editing and also 3D like Adobe Dimension. Now, the recommendation for this year is going to be the RTX 4070 Ti from NVIDIA. This is a card that came out last year. It's extremely powerful and there's a huge variety available. It is in fact more powerful than the RTX 3090 Ti, the previous most powerful GPU in the previous generation. Now this guy comes in at around $800. It comes in with 12 gigabytes of VRAM and you'll get a huge variety. One to think about is the MSI Ventus. This guy comes in at $800. It is 2-fan, so it will actually fit into a large number of cases. And another benefit of this particular edition is that it comes in multiple colors. So if you want to go for an all-white aesthetic, there is one that is available. I will have links to these selected options in the description, but I would say for the 4070 Ti, probably the most powerful option you could go for is for one of the 3-fan ones, like the Zotac 4070 Ti. And if you go for a 3-fan solution like the Zotac one, the Zotac ones come in at 4 to 5 year warranties. They're very good in terms of value and in terms of warranties. And if you go for one about this size, you get more choice. And you also have the option, if you later want to go up to the 4080, which is the more powerful one with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, or the 4090 with 24 gigabytes of VRAM. Those might be preferable if you're editing very high resolution video. Now currently the 4080 is available everywhere, but the 4090 is in very short supply. And we think that's probably due to something that's happening in China. Now the CPU I'm going to recommend is the Intel Core i9 14900K. This is one of the most powerful CPUs from Intel. Intel updated their range this year, just a few weeks ago, and at $567, this guy here gives you 8 high performance cores and 16 efficiency cores. Now typically for the Creative Cloud, the software can make use of about 8 performance cores. Most of the software doesn't really go beyond 8 cores in terms of what it can actually use. So that gives you 16 efficiency cores that you can use for the background for when you need to do some multitasking. Now to power all of this, all you really need is something like this Seasonic Vertex 1200 watt power supply. This guy here is PCIe 5 compliant. Comes with a full 10-year warranty, which is pretty awesome. And it is ATX 3.0 compliant. Now, if you were to get this guy here, it should allow you to upgrade all the way to a 4090, to an RTX 4090. When those come back in general availability, you could upgrade to that if you wanted to. I'll have a link to this one. Seasonic is a very good brand. For memory, I'm going to recommend DDR5 memory, and for the Creative Cloud, I would recommend at least 32 gigabytes, maybe go up to 48 gigabytes or 64 gigabytes. In my view, one of the best ways of improving the performance of your system in 2023 is to get a very fast NVMe drive. Put your system on one of these. These are PCIe Gen 4. You can get PCIe Gen 5, which will run about twice as fast as this. These guys run much faster than your typical SSD drive, and they have much lower latency as well. So they can really improve the speed of your video processing. They can, if you need to access lots of data, these guys will deliver that data in a jiffy. For the motherboard, there is a huge number of different motherboards we can go for. The very latest ones for the Intel lineup are the Z790s, and these can range from, I've seen one at $160, and we can go all the way up to about, let's see, a nice one here would be the $500 one. Is it here? Yes, the $579 one from MSI. This is the Meg Ace gaming motherboard. These ones, the amount that you pay for the motherboard will determine how fast your system runs. So going for this Z790 will allow you to overclock. It will give you plenty of storage options. But if you don't want to spend $500, you can spend something like $240 for the Z790 Tomahawk. This one here is a pretty decent one from MSI. It has Wi-Fi, and it has PCIe Gen 5 slot for your NVMe. It is something which I would say is, if you're not sure which to go for, this is a fairly small one that will fit inside most cases. Supports up to 128 gigs of memory, and it's got most of the features that you would want. So I'm going to link to this one, but take your time and choose whichever motherboard you want. Bear in mind, for the build we're going for, we want DDR5. And ideally we want PCIe 5 for the NVMe drives. Not all the motherboards support PCIe 5. Now, if you intend to overclock, I would recommend having at least something like a 2-fan liquid cooler. This 3-fan one from Arctic, this one will be a very good one to install for overclocking. The amount of juice that you can draw through the CPU for the 4900K is pretty large, so you do need a very decent cooler if you intend to do any type of overclocking.